Running a brokerage is hard work, so whether you're focused on building your own sales pipeline, hiring the best agents, leveling up your team's production, or protecting the culture you've built, you're in the right place. Real estate brings the challenges, and we share the solution. Welcome to the show dedicated to broker entrepreneurs. Welcome to the Brokerpreneur Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Brokerpreneur Podcast. I'm Dr. Ben, the Doctor of Flow here, as usual, with the big guy, Matt Vi. What's up, Matt?
Man, just living the dream today. We've had a busy day so far.
We have had a very busy day.
Yeah, and we're getting ready to introduce a super cool guest. I'm really excited about it. He's been on before. I'm not going to ruin anything. He's been on before, and he's got so much going on. It's tough to keep up with everything he's doing, which of course we love, right?
Yeah, for sure. So let's go ahead and bring him on. Erik Huberman. He's the CEO and founder of Hawke Media. If you don't know about Hawke Media, then you've been under a rock for a little bit. In the top 100 of Inc. 5,000 companies. Man, we're going to talk about Kings of Barbecue. We're going to talk about the LinkedIn marketing courses and all these different things that he's got going on. But first, and Hawke Fest, I think, is coming up. So we're going to learn a little bit about that. But we're really going to dive into personal brand today. How's it going, Erik?
Going great. Thanks for having me. Good to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. We're super pumped. Guys, if you haven't watched this episode before, whenever we put this out, we'll make sure we put a link to the first episode as well. So, Erik.
I think he had bags under his eyes because you just had your daughter at that point, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that's fair to say, though. Like, I actually had the easiest time having a kid.
I remember you saying that.
We did the nanny. My wife was super respectful of the fact that there's one thing I'm really not good at is a lack of sleep. And then our daughter decided since 4 months old to sleep through the night every night, knock on wood. So she just turned a year. So the whole, like, we're exhausted parents, like, if I were to say that, I'd be full of shit. So
we appreciate your honesty.
I have to wake her up in the morning, which is amazing. But
yeah, that's absolutely amazing. My kids are 9-11 and they're still like up at 4 ready, but they're, they don't come to me anymore. They just wrestle in the living room.
Yeah, and our daughter, like, so if she does wake up early, she just kind of plays in her crib. So it's like, I don't know how we got lucky in that sense, but it's worked out really well.
So look out for the next one.
Oh, everyone says that, by the way, which makes me really nervous because they're usually right when it's that many people are like, next one's not going to be that way. I'm like, oh, don't say that. This has been so good.
Yeah. 3 nannies.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
8-hour shifts.
Exactly. So, the last time that we interviewed you, we talked about, how people need to have patience with their marketing. We also talked about how there was, a low barrier of entry to the marketing space, period. You shared a story. I think you were going door to door selling your dad's stuff and, different things. Tell us for our listeners who are just now meeting you, tell us a little bit about how you got into the space that you're in right now.
Yeah, basically I graduated. This is, I think, relevant. I graduated in 2008 and I was going to be a commercial real estate agent, and I got my license and I started exactly 1 week before Lehman Brothers declared bankruptcy. So really rough time in real estate, I'd say. And so I made $350 that year. All I got paid on was a broker opinion of value. I had 30 something million in listings at 21 and 22 years old. So, like, I should have made a boatload of money.
Oh, yeah.
I was getting listings, but nobody was buying anything. So I pivoted and I ended up launching an online music company, ran that for 2 years, and then hired a CEO to take it over, got it to profitability. And then I built and sold 2 consecutive e-commerce fashion companies, a men's t-shirt subscription site called Swag of the Month that I sold after 1.5 years. And then a company called Ellie, a women's activewear brand that I sold after 1 year to Bowie Total Fitness. That still exists. So from that, learned a ton about marketing and how to grow businesses, and realized, like, I ended up focusing on marketing because that was the hard part. Like, manufacturing t-shirts is not hard, and all that side of it. But, like, getting people to buy them online, especially in 2010 and 11, was like, oh, well, how am I going to do this? So I really focused on that, which then, like a lot of things, I spent so much time on it that I actually became an expert in it. And, 5 years of launching digital businesses, and, they say, what is it, 10,000 hours? Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure I spent 10,000 hours on marketing in those 5 years. And so I became pretty good at it. And then when I sold my last company, I didn't know what I wanted to do next. So I just started advising and consulting, and then went, oh, you guys need way more help than me. And most agencies out there, you just mentioned it, like, there's no barrier to entry here, which, in other words, most agencies are full of shit. And we just went, we're going to go hire our own team. And so I started building a team, and now fast forward, it'll be a decade in January. We're like 220 people. We've grown over 4,500 brands. We currently run about 500 brands marketing. Big brands, like we work with Nike and Unilever, and we currently run all e-com for like BB, Kenneth Cole, Scotch and Soda, Brookstone, list goes on. But we also work with a lot of startups and a lot of small businesses too, and everything in between. And so we've really focused on being the best at what we do, but easy to work with. And through that, we built this all-star team of marketers, along with our own AI tool that we launched before ChatGPT. So I hate the bandwagon, but here we are. But that's been incredibly powerful because basically we digest 8,000 companies' marketing data in real time, and we're able to benchmark against it so we can make adjustments based on what's happening in the market before anyone else knows what's happening. So that's been valuable. And then we launched a venture fund that we invest in all the new innovations and technologies coming out in the space as well. So we're able to be a partner and an owner and sort of a true partner, not in the sense of like we send business back and forth, but also like we help dictate product development and that kind of things with a lot of these tools. And some of those tools have become the biggest tools in marketing. So it's been a fun path the past decade.
Yeah, no doubt. And you got so many things, that are, we're just learning about. I'm sure they've been in the works for months. But diving into that brand, that personal brand, because that's really where we want to teach these real estate brokers how to do that themselves. Tell us a little bit about your philosophy on branding, right? Maybe even your definition of branding. So we talk about that a lot.
Hey, Dr. Ben here. I hope you're enjoying this episode. If sometimes you feel overloaded or alone when it comes to building your brokerage, I want you to know that we are here for you. There's so much support available to agents, but hardly any dedicated to brokers. I want to personally invite you to schedule a complimentary strategy call where Matt will help you build a 3-step profitability plan that will immediately produce results. This is not a sales pitch. There's no obligation. Simply click the link in the description below. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah. So we wrote a book, The Hawke Method, and we talk about the 3 principles of marketing. My favorite review of the book that I think really sums it up is the first 1-star review we got was, "I don't get it. It's just modern marketing 101." I was like, perfect. I wish I screenshotted. The guy deleted, heard me speak about it, but I love that review because it's exactly right, and I love that it was a 1-star, knowing exactly what we're doing. But that is what it is. And so really the idea is it's the 3 principles of marketing. It's awareness, nurturing, and trust. So awareness, how do you get the word out there to new potential customers? How do you actually reach new people? Because by nature, you're going to be losing customers always. In terms of real estate agent, your existing clients are going to not move again. They're going to move out of the state or and leave. They're going to, their aunt is going to get their real estate license and then you're screwed. Whatever it is, there's going to be reasons you lose customers. So you're going to always have to find new ones. That's awareness, is getting the word out there. That not to be confused with nurturing, which is what do you do once they're aware you exist to actually get them to become a customer. So that's 2 different strategies. Get your name out there and then actually nurture them down to becoming a customer of yours and maintaining them as a customer. That's the nurturing part. And then trust, which is really the brand aspect, is how do I build trust so they actually believe that they're going to get what they want when they buy from me? And in the beginning, when nobody knows who you are, it's third-party validation. It's testimonials, reviews. It's for, honestly showing that you sold houses. That's simple stuff like that we all do intuitively, but that's how that fits in. And then eventually you're going to have a reputation, and you're going to have a TV show, I guess, in this day and age, and be the next right. Which, by the way, we work with Aaron Kerman a lot. So, I've worked in this space as well. And so that's the 3 principles again: awareness, nurturing, and trust. So brand is really trust. And so I think of that, and I think you have to be firing on all 3 cylinders all the time. Like, that's important. You always have to be filling your funnel. You always have to be nurturing, and you always have to be building trust. And again, with trust, over time, it becomes how you consistently deliver. Like, you become known for something, your reputation, good and bad, which everyone says reputation and everything. To me, reputation for a business is your brand. And if your business is a sole proprietor and you're a real estate agent, your reputation is your brand. And so if you're known as the guy that sells the mansions, you'll probably get some more mansions. People trust that when they sell with you, you know what you're doing and you're going to get them what they want. It's what you consistently deliver and consistently talk about. And that's an important distinction with branding, is like, it's not just what you deliver, because if no one knows, it doesn't go anywhere. You have to consistently talk about it. And honestly, there's a little bit of almost black hat side to that. We see it in politics. We see it in some companies where if you talk about it a lot, my favorite example of this, and I did not vote for Trump, I'll say it, but Trump's Make America Great Again, he just repeated Make America Great Again. Over time, people just go, yeah, he's going to make America great again because he said it. Like there's a brilliance and everybody knows that one, so they can relate to it. And so same thing goes for companies. So the good example there is if anyone knows Zappos, the online
of course.
Yeah. What are they known for? You guys, what is
Customer
Zappos?
service.
Yeah.
There you go. Nailed it. Why? Have you ever dealt with Zappos customer service?
I haven't.
I haven't either, but that's what I know them for.
Same.
Yeah.
I've read books about it.
They talk about it and they wrote the book Delivering Happiness and they spread the word. And now here's what happens. So now if I actually do post and go to their customer service and I have a good experience, see, they're great. Look at that. Reinforce that. If I call them and have a bad experience, I'm going to probably think that it was an anomaly and be like, that's weird. I know that they have great customer service. Must have gotten someone bad or someone on a bad day. Confirmation bias is so powerful that I'm going to believe what I already believe. And whatever happens, it's the same thing as the opposite with like the telco companies are pretty commonly thought of as horrible customer service. And it's the opposite there. If I have a good experience, I'm going to be like, well, finally, I got a good person. But if I have a bad experience, I'm going to be like, see, I knew it. And it's going to confirm that they're suck. And so that goes for everyone. And again, help that along by speaking about it. Now, if Zappos had horrible customer service, people would laugh at that book. So it can't be completely fabricated, but there is something to do with the promotion. So back to what you were speaking to with what we do, I am always looking at, people know they need marketing. And there's also two different types of buying decisions. There's, do I need this or not? And I need this, who am I getting it from? This is a little bit of a lesson. And like, there's two different psychologies. The example of that for this is, in terms of the audience, is it more more residential or commercial, or just a mix?
It's a mix. Most of what we do is we're with real estate brokers, and we help a lot with recruiting, retention, and things that have to do with per agent productivity.
And those brokerages are focused on either or.
Either or, yeah.
Cool. So I'm going to use the residential side as the example. People need a house. Like that, you don't have to sell people on the idea of like, trust me, it's really nice to have a roof over your head. Like that's not your job. You don't need
right.
The job is why you over another guy or girl. Like, why am I going to pick your company or you specifically? And that's the job. And so with that, that's where branding is really important, because obviously you need to let them know you exist. That's a no-brainer. You need to stay in touch with them, which actually can help a lot, because if you're doing a good job of nurturing a customer and staying in touch and making them feel better, and someone else isn't, you'll win. But this person looks like they want, like simple things, like they look like they want my business. I've known them for a long time. They've stayed in touch with me. Those are ways that you can win for sure. But the branding side of like, if someone's making a more all-encompassing sort of rational decision of who am I going to pick, well, that my job and what I thought of at Hawke Media was, we need to get awareness and nurturing down. And there's a lot of ways we do that. But the brand side is really like where I have the most power and ability, because I'm the CEO. So people are going to look to like, who's the guy leading this thing? And can I trust that person? And do I want to work with that person? And so I focus a lot on trying to reinforce the idea that we are the best at what we do. And then we also, by function, try to be very easy to work with. Because my theory was, if we can be seen as the best, objectively, rationally, like people are like, they're the best at what we do, we like Hawke Media is great, and we're easy to work with, there'll be no limit to business. That is not infinite, but there's a lot more than I'll ever obtain in terms of the addressable market. And so that has been the pursuit. And so I'm constantly looking at, how are other ways I make myself credible? Where it's like, I say this is the terminology I use. How do I make it so if someone is betting Hawke and decides to hire someone else, anyone watching that situation goes, are you an idiot? Like, that's what I want. I want it to be like, objectively, it is a dumb decision to vet us and someone else. If you're aware of Hawke and you decide to work with another agency, there's something wrong with your brain. Like that is what I want it to be. And so obviously having a great team, great performance and all that is a necessity, but that's the same thing with Zappos and customer service, but it's also the visibility of it. And so when we talk to people, it's like, okay, we win tons of awards all the time. Name an award, we've won it. Like, we are constantly winning awards, thankfully, and it's intentional. Again, it's this third-party validation. We show our case studies. Here's what we've done for companies. Most people don't achieve that. We get validation from our partners. Like, we're one of the top Shopify partners, Facebook partners, Google partners, all these partners that like, there's a lot of people that are partnered with them and we're one of the top. So again, like now if you pick us, or like, let's say we're in the top 5, you pick one of the other top 5, I can have a little respect for that. And frankly, that isn't my concern. We don't compete with them as much. It's the 45,000 agencies in the US that have no idea what they're doing that we worry about. So it's like, okay, you want to pick one of the top 5, fine. But if you're going to go work with Google and not work with a top 5 agency that's also easy to work with, what's wrong with you? Like, that's where I try to go. So then I look at like, what are other ways to do that? And I've had to make this clear even to my own team, like none of this has to do with ego. Like this, you know, we have a TV show out now, we put out the book, I speak on stages, I'm constantly on social media. And if it didn't affect the business, I would do 0 of it. I could care less. I do it because of the outcome. And so let's take social media as an example, because I think this is relevant. I post every single day on an achievement, progress, performance, something I talk about every single day from the company. Today was a clip I was interviewed on Extra about our TV show. And I'm like, look, this is exciting. Yesterday was, what was it yesterday? I can't remember. The day before was an interview with David Meltzer, the famous agent and sales guy.
Yeah. I saw something from Gary Vee, like sent you some cards.
Exactly. So it's a constant reminder of like, oh yeah, Erik, and oh, he's doing something else cool, and oh, he's doing something else in marketing and something else, and look at how they're related. It's just a drum roll so that when someone goes, I need marketing help, like I'm on a group text with my YPO group, which is like a president's group. And one of my buddies texted the group, does anyone know anyone that can do a good job on paid search? And I just texted him directly. I'm like, really? Oh wow, my bad. Yeah, let's talk. Like, it is a good buddy of mine, and again, I also respect if we're close friends, maybe working together sometimes you got to be careful. But I also am very confident that we're great at what we do. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to set you up. We're going to do this right. But the point being, like, I want to make sure that people don't forget, because they will. Even my close friends that I've traveled with are like, oh shit, that's right, you do marketing. It's like, are you serious? I've known you for a decade.
Right.
Like, fuck you. Like, but that's the reason that's important is like, understand that that's like a friend that I like communicate with regularly, and he forgets. And he does want to work with us. Like he'd be blunt with me and be like, I'm not working with you. Like I'm gonna work with someone else. Like we have that relationship. So it's like, you need to stay in front of people, the drum roll.
Absolutely.
There's a great book called Top of Mind by a guy named John Hall that talks about this. Stay top of mind. Like that's important. And then, but to fill that, like the things that I post are all relevant, value add, like compelling stories that no matter how good or bad the business is doing, the optics are we're fucking crushing it all the time. And if you want to grow, and it's the same, again, same thing for real estate agent. You want to get the most value for your house and have someone that you can trust and is going to take care of you through this. Like, why wouldn't you go with a guy that every day seems to have another win? Like, of course I want to go. Like, you know, that's and again, that's the same strategy of like, it should be like, wait, you chose your aunt over me? Like, oh, you just want to give up 10% of the value of your house? Like, because you want to help your cousin out? Like, okay. Like, because that's my version of like the kind of shitty little agency in the real estate world. That's, I think, the version. Like,
absolutely.
if you're the top broker and you're the top office broker in your city, and you lose a deal to the other top office broker, I'd actually wouldn't focus on that as much. There's plenty of business to go around, and you're going to have that main competitor anywhere you go. There's almost never you're the one. I don't think that that's what you win on. You win on all the you lose on all the other people that are gunning for you, because that's a lot bigger market. And so it's, again, continuing to paint that picture, which is why we wrote the book, why I did the LinkedIn partnership, why the TV show was compelling. I didn't get paid to be on TV, nor would it have been a meaningful amount of money compared to my business. But being on TV and on half the season and, you know, of Kings of Barbecue. So to go to that, we're basically helping Cedric the Entertainer and Anthony Anderson launch their barbecue company. And thankfully, it was authentic. They got recommended to me by some VCs and people that knew the production team. They called me, we talked about it, and they really needed someone to help build the brand and launch that company. And it's crushing it. They're doing great, really, really well. And then they filmed it for A&E and made it a film that's half like food show about barbecue and half about them building their business. And so I was pulled in as the business side. And so it's been super fun, but the credibility that's created is absurd. Like the episode, I'm briefly on the first episode where they're like, we need a marketing king. Oh, what about that guy, Erik Huberman? Oh, the guy from Shark Tank? Yeah, let's call him. He can help us blow this up. Like that soundbite from Cedric the Entertainer and Anthony Anderson, like priceless.
Yeah,
right.
game over.
The next episode, they called Damon John and go, we really want to launch a brand, but we need help on how to grow this. We don't know what we're doing. He's like, there's only one guy to call, and that's Erik Huberman. Like, you got to call Hawke Media. That's the only person to call. Like, again, I can save my marketing budget for the rest of the year. We're done.
Right.
Like, it's like great. And but to be clear, and I think this is important, that episode aired, it's on A&E, the show's actually doing pretty well, and even with the strikes and everything, and it's on Saturdays at 9, and it's also streaming the day after. So it's on A&E, it's getting a lot of views, and I don't think I got a single social media follower or text or email or anything from the show. And by the way, I've been on the Drew Barrymore show, I've been on the Alan Carolla podcast, I'll be on Good Morning Atlanta next week, Good Morning Tampa the week after, Good Morning San Diego the week after. I was on Extra on Wednesday night, I think it was. And none of this is awareness. And I think that's important to understand. Yeah. Again, awareness, nurturing, and trust. None of this is introducing new people. And I shouldn't say, this is hyperbole. People are seeing this and going, oh, that looks cool. Like, thankfully, outside of like my ecosystem, nobody knows who I am. So like getting introductions to more of a consumer audience and getting out there, like people seeing my face a little bit. If I keep that drum roll going over time, might do something. But what the value of it is not that. The value is me posting it. The value is me putting it in our ads. The value is it in sending it to our audience.
Exactly.
In the other ways, we're creating more direct awareness through advertising, through partnerships, through events, through getting our name out there. And then them seeing all this is a reinforcer of, wait, these guys are doing all this? Like, yeah, we got to work with them. That's where the value is. It's not the Oprah effect, as it used to be called, or the Shark Tank effect. Like, these things don't work anymore because the way we consume media, we're just inundated all the time.
Right.
It used to be, you got on a TV show and people, what was, I forgot how many cable channels there were back in the day, but like everybody, even when I was a kid and I'm 36, we all watched the same shit. So we all saw the same thing. Right. And so, I know like Warby Parker is a good example of this. When they got into GQ, they still credit the GQ article as the reason they were successful. Like that article took them off. I have been in every major business publication I can think of. And I can tell you that the amount of like actual traffic I get from it is nothing, because that's just not how media works these days. And so, but when people are talking to me and then I share something about the TV show or something like that, or they see the billboard and they know I'm related to it, they're like, oh, wait, like now I need to talk. Like the trust factor is what gets hit with that. And so that's why I'm always looking at this. Again, how do I make it so that once you know me, the decision to not work with me is objectively a dumb decision?
Yeah, that's so killer. So from a broker standpoint, I think a cool thing to point out on this is, you hit on who the competitor really should be, right? And that's tied directly into what you were saying about the awareness, the nurture, and the trust. I think a lot of times brokers start chasing what they see other people doing in their marketing. And their marketing doesn't have that consistency of, okay, generate the awareness first and then nurture and then build the trust. They see somebody else that isn't really their competitor, that they're jealous of because they lost a listing to them. And so they're going, oh, that guy, put something on social media, or they're posting their awards, whatever it is. And the next thing you know, they're chasing that facet of marketing instead of just saying, okay, here's my plan. Here's what, okay. And then the other thing that you hit on, which I think is brilliant, and I want to make sure that we point it out, so in case because you said a lot, which I love. I want to make sure that we point it out for our brokers, right? So the broker has to keep in mind when they're marketing, when they're trying to recruit, that is a B2B type of interaction. When they're trying to get more listings, that is B2C. That is not the same exact thing. The methodology can be the same, but the message inside that methodology has to be different. The brand
so trying to produce that, because I think a lot of people think that the tactics are different. The messaging is different, but B2B or B2C, you're selling a person. Businesses don't buy anything, people do. And so even with recruiting, stuff like that, I love that you said that. The messaging is absolutely different, but the tactics are not. The tools you use are not. The methodology is not necessarily.
Yeah, completely. And I think brokers get lost, right? They're busy, and when they finally slow down, if they don't have professional help, right, they finally slow down and they're like, I'm going to do my marketing for the year today, right? Yeah. And so they start on whatever it is they start on, and then 2 weeks later they're like, you know what, I need to do some recruiting too. So I'm just going to change this little part and change this little piece. We see it all the time. Brokers want to recruit and want to hire more people, but all of their messaging that's on social media is really talking about them selling houses. And if I'm an agent, do I really want to see somebody else's social media account that looks like they're going to compete with me if I come to work for them? And so having the right message inside of what they're doing, but delivering it in the way that you're talking about, I think is brilliant. I appreciate you bringing that up. That's absolutely.
I think you have to, as a broker, you need to make the decision of, serving one master? Like, are you going to be an agent, or are you going to be a broker? Meaning, like, are you going to recruit brokers and manage brokers and build a business, or are you going to be an agent and go sell houses? And, I think a lot struggle with that, because obviously there's a bread and butter of selling your own homes that makes a lot of money. I think that, when you become in conflict with your own employees, that's not good. It's the same way, like, I purposely don't keep most deals for myself. If I get people calling me for marketing, I loop in one of my people, because we have a sales team that makes commission, and I loop in someone always and create a discipline of that, even though I could save on their commission if I did it myself. But why would I want to compete with, like, just make a business model that you both win and it's okay.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that you touched on a second ago also, which I thought was super powerful for, the broker owners out there is, you had Damon John, you had, everybody, talking about you, but seeing that value in taking those sound bites, taking those clips and actually using them with your own audience, that it just goes to show the importance of no matter the size of it, right? Maybe not everyone has, Erik Huberman's audience. It is still so important to have your own audience.
Yeah.
And so that you can share those things. And I think there's still so many brokers out there who are thinking, well, no one cares about me. No one cares about my story. Or, just like you said at the very beginning, and Matt and I are very similar, even though we're online all the time, it's you may not, like, I wouldn't do that at all if it didn't help my business.
Yeah.
You mean like being on social and write books? Well, the same thing's true for them.
But if just to be blunt, if nobody cares, then you're screwed. So you might as well do it. It's the same thing where because our team, like, we stay in touch with people. We have a whole sales process, and they're like, I coach our team. This is actually a good tip too. I stay in touch with everyone on my contact list every quarter. I email them, check in. Like, I set a reminder for everyone, and it's tens of thousands of people now. Like, it's a big list. And this is not like a lead list I bought. These are people I've met that when I email them the first time, it automatically gets added. And then I clean through that to make sure that I just stay in touch with everyone. And I have my team do it, and people will push back and say, like, well, what if I annoy someone? I'm like, if someone's annoyed with you checking in with them on a basis, they're never going to be your customer.
I'm so glad you said that. Yeah.
But I don't care about that person. Like, they're not fine. If they're annoyed with me checking in, and I'm not like salesy and like, hey, are you gonna hire us? It's like, how you been? Here's what's up with us. We'd love to, catch up. That kind of a message. If that annoys someone, they're literally worthless to me in every way. Like, even on a personal level, like, they're annoyed by me checking in with them. So same thing with you guys. Like, if you're posting and no one cares, that's an issue. If a few people care and then go focus on finding people that do care. That's the awareness piece. Who does care? Because like me, like, I'm locked. I got a 2.5% mortgage. I know this is bad news for a lot of agents out there right now, but like, I'm not leaving. I love my property. We're going to rebuild on this property. I still stay in touch with some agents because I invest. Who knows? Like, I still like if you can create value above and beyond. You ready to sell? Oh, then we'll talk later. Are you ready to sell? Oh, we'll talk later. My mom might want to move to the neighborhood. Like, actually, so it's like all these reasons of like, and then I have the commercial side. Like, we invest in commercial real estate. I have a commercial real estate family office. We have our own office space that we're expanding. So it's like, you never know. So like, just stay in touch and don't make me feel like you're just waiting for me to give you money. Like, you got to create some value, check in. Like, there's a couple agents in LA that I will say, like, their reputation isn't even that good in terms of like, they're very transactional, but they've done such a good job checking in with me and just staying in touch that I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to call them if I need something. Like, they've stayed consistent more than all the other guys. So and I know by nature, if you're aggressive with me and you're doing this, that means when you have my listing, you're going to be aggressive. Like, there is a correlation there versus someone that's like nonchalant about working with me. I'm like, then that's how you're going to be when we are working together. Like, if you're not aggressive before I give you a listing, God forbid, like, then I don't want to see what happens after you think you have it locked in.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're just, when somebody says that they don't want that from you or take me off your list or whatever, that I always looked at that as a huge relief. That was one less person that I had to spend any time, effort, and energy on that wasn't going to go somewhere. I appreciated them raising their hand. And from a recruiting standpoint, that's even more so. So many brokers are just, worried that they're going to get that rejection. Like, there's this limited amount of people to choose from. The real estate industry is going through some changes. There's some big things happening, that could really clear some things out. But there's not going to be a shortage of good people that want to work with other like-minded people. You're
yeah, as fast as it's clearing some people out, there's people joining it because they're changing careers right now. Like this is a weird economic time where I'm watching a lot of people change to real estate, as well as like, listen, I know the velocity of sales right now is low. Soon enough, people remember that 5.5% is a very normal debt, and like we're gonna get over this. Like the only issue you're gonna deal with are the people that really can't, or are locked. I forget, there was a term I saw that I liked, but you got that low of a mortgage. I met a couple guys that had 1.6%. Like, yeah, I get it. They're not going to renew for 7, but that's a small portion of the world that actually lock that in. And there's also a percentage of those that are still going to have to move at some point. So like, it's not going to change that much in the medium term.
Absolutely. That portion of the market, there's other stuff with lawsuits and everything that are going to make an impact on some things. And what it's going to do, hopefully, is just thin the herd. Right. It's going to be great people, great agents that are, really wanting to go out there and do things like build their personal brand, like really market, like be assertive with what they're doing. Man, start establishing those relationships now with as many of those people as you can. So from a broker standpoint, no matter what happens in the market, you're still connected with those people. You're still building that trust. You're still building that brand in front of them. You're still building that you created the awareness. You're staying connected with them. So when the time does come, even if they don't want to move right now, somewhere along the line, they're going to say, yes, I want to make a change. It's that philosophy that, one big person eating at a buffet is causing people to starve 8 states away. That's not the way that it works. There is food. There is enough for everyone to eat. Anybody that wants enough to eat is going to be able to do it. So that the ability for you to be able to continue making money in real estate, if you're willing to do what you need to do, somebody's not taking it from you. You're just not in front of the audience, letting them know that you're there to help in all the different ways that you can. Does your mom want to buy a house? Do you want to buy a commercial building? Do you want to rent space? All of those other things all matter. So that's why it's so crucial to kind of stay in touch with all those people. So I love it that you brought that up.
Going back to the point, if you do agree with what I said about like the competitive market is not about the top agents in your space, but everyone else, and all those people are getting out of the way, it's going to be tight for a short period. But there's that period after things get tough, before they get ripping, it's like a no man's land and you've got all the business. And that's what you grind through. Like, and it's the same thing with my business, with marketing agency. Like last year, the entire world was talking about cutting back on everything. Like that's not easy to be a marketing agency in that period, but we grinded through. It was harder than I've ever worked. I've had the business a decade. I worked harder last year than ever and had the new baby and it was just, it's a crazy year. But now I'm looking at it, I'm like, we made it through a tight period. We did okay. We did fine, I should say. And now we're back to like starting to grow again. And oh, look, half the agencies I know of are just dying because a lot of people give up. Like it gets hard and people don't want to roll up their sleeves. And so if you're one of those people that's ready to grind during a hard period, you come out the other end. Like, people talk about recessions and pullbacks and whether it's industry wide or world or, globally or whatever it is. They talk about it as if it's like an end point in business.
Right.
And the truth is there's a lot of businesses that have made it through a lot of recessions.
It's the beginning for a lot.
Right. Exactly. So you take a look at that and look at it like, well, what did they do? And how did that work? And like, what was that transition? And it is hard to go into a recession because readjusting a business is a very stressful thing and working your ass off to maintain versus grow sucks. But once you're through it, now you've got a platform for the next upswing that is even bigger and even better because you have less competition, less noise, and you've got your own horsepower. So now you're starting, let's say, your beginning is here, you're here, let's say you get to here, and then a recession takes you to here. You're still here versus here. So when you're ready to rip again, you can grow even more. And that's how we look at it. That's how I've seen it. We manage a lot of businesses too. So I'm watching what happens. You get through that. And they also, it's not that long of a time period. These recessions, these tough times don't last very long. I think the Great Recession was 4 or 5 years. So that's like the worst time ever in economic history was 4 or 5 years. Whatever we've been dealing with here, it'll be over soon. It really will. And my favorite recent lines is just the idea of this too shall pass. So
and you have to look at it like commencement, right? If you're already in business and you're going into this, man, it's the culling down, it's the getting rid of, it's the end of that other piece. Let that go and move into that next step. And from a broker standpoint, it gives you permission, right? We talked in the very beginning of COVID, we talked so much about permission with things. That circumstance gave you permission to make adjustments that everybody wouldn't have made a year before COVID, right? They wouldn't have done that. Well, the same thing happens in a recession. Every time there's any type of stress or pressure or downswing or anything like that, if people look at it the right way, it gives them permission to make adjustments that before, when things are just robust, they might not necessarily have had the opportunity of being able to do. So there's a lot of plus to it. Now, like you said, it can be shitty too. Okay, there's a lot of other things to get through, but the flip side is, if you take that right mindset into it, and you've got that growth mindset instead of that fixed fear-based mindset, man, it just allows you to come out of the other end of that. Like we said, with a commencement instead of looking at it like it's a problem.
Yep, totally agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I know that all of our listeners have absolutely loved this conversation. They can tell that, you've been marketing over a month at least, and growing businesses. Yeah, 2 weeks. And so I got two things, that I definitely want to share with them. And then I want to let everybody know how to connect with you. Of course, as a link in the description below, we're going to put the Hawke Method, your book. So everybody, please go out and go and check that out and purchase it. I've read it multiple times. Absolutely love it. It's a really easy read, and gives you a great foundation to then take, and obviously gives you some action steps, beyond just the basics. But you also, just partnered with LinkedIn, and you're doing marketing courses for LinkedIn. So, if you don't mind, really briefly kind of talk to us a little bit about that, because again, that's going to let all of our listeners know a little bit more about your marketing philosophy, and hopefully you'll get them to Hawke Media. Yeah,
and that comes from a long time of me wanting to just be synonymous with marketing. And so I've built a reputation. They reached out and asked me to do all this. And, I have a production studio up in Santa Barbara. And so went out and they asked me to redo a bunch of their marketing courses and create that. And so, yeah, we got a full partnership, got paid for it, all those things. And,
nice.
And so far, so good on the feedback. We've, had hundreds and hundreds of people. It's been out a week. I think we've had a few hundred people already go through it, and, they're starting to build up. They don't do like a huge push. They kind of just put it up there and see what happens. So it's kind of organic going right now, but so far so good. It's been fun. And when someone completes the course, I actually automatically get tagged in their like announcement share of like them completing the course. So it's fun because all these people around the world are tagging me, and I'm definitely commenting on all of it when I catch it.
So good.
Yeah, I love that. So beyond the book, beyond the LinkedIn courses, how could our listeners connect with you if they just wanted to meet a really cool guy or learn more about Hawke Media?
Yeah, @Erik Huberman on any social, easy to find me intentionally, so should be easy to connect with. And then hawkemedia.com. If we're always happy to do a free marketing audit, help people out, so you can always sign up on our website too.
Love it.
Absolutely. Well, I'll make sure that all that information gets put in the description below, everybody. Erik, thank you so much for coming on. We're super grateful to have you on, and congrats on the 1-year birthday coming up.
Appreciate it.
For the little girl. So Matt, anything else before I put a bow on it?
I know we say this on a regular basis. We love our guests, and we love you coming on and just sharing that truth with all the brokers. We can't tell you how grateful we are. We really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, guys, if you're listening to this on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer, any of those platforms, make sure you hit that follow button. If you're watching this on YouTube, what's up? Hit that red subscribe button, that bell right beside of it. You get notified every time we drop a new episode. There's no better time than the present than to go to brokerpreneurpodcast.com. Check out all the cool things that we have to help you grow your brokerage, no matter what phase or stage of the business you're in. Matt, we bring on amazing guests, just like Erik Huberman, all the time for one reason and one reason alone. Tell them why that is.
Man, we just want to be part of your win.